Um, Another thing we can do with schools, other than simply protect on a small site the play area and keep those kids inside that protected area throughout the school day, is we can look at what is our current streets. Well, a street is where cars go up and down. You have sidewalks. Yeah, but street is also mall. Our modern day malls are sort of our streets. There happen to be interior streets. One thing I've done at another school, the Keystone Elementary School, which is a brand new school, as we mentioned once before, being built up in the north end of town, is I've taken two of their corridors and I simply fattened them up, made them wide. And then we have some special classrooms along the sides of that corridor. I asked the architect to punch storefront windows in there. And so they did. They punched storefront windows in there into those special classes, computer, science, music, art. So that what happens is, as those kids go from one thing to another throughout the day, or they're walking through this mall, they can look in, and maybe some kid will get turned on. You'll see a French horn in there, or maybe you see a drum set. Maybe he gets turned on to music, or he may not have got turned on before. Look in the computer class, see new graphics that are coming out of these computers. Maybe the kid gets turned on. I want to turn on kids to the subject matter that's available in these schools. I also need to teach them socialization skills. When Freddie passes Johnny in the hallway, he doesn't reach out and pop Johnny. He knows as he's walking back and forth, for instance in the mall area, that you do certain things in our society and you don't do others. So maybe it's a treat that you get to go through the mall today. Maybe you're a big shot. Just like after school, Freddie's a big shot if he gets to go to the mall. We can do things like that. We can replicate society, and then we leave it to the teachers to continue with the creative notion. How do we make these folks better citizens?
Good. Ron Edmonds talked about effective schools. And one of the key ideas that he had was for a school to be effective, for children to learn, the school climate had to be positive. And basically he was talking about inner city children who live in areas that probably aren't quite so pleasant. But what I see with Gordon and Keystone is an inner city, but with Gordon is that you're creating a climate that a child would love to be in. So they wake up in the morning ready to go to school. I want to go to school because it's such a nice place to be.
Wouldn't that be neat? That'd be ideal, not only to have the kids feel that way, but to have the staff feel that way. You know, I showed the Gordon Elementary School to one of our senior educators. And this senior educator looked at the plan and he went, "Oh, Montessori," because he didn't know it was. He said, "Oh, Montessori." What I would like folks to be able to do is to look at the pictures and plans of our schools and go, "Oh, Memphis City Schools."
Yeah, wonderful.
It's ideal. It'd be wonderful. Imagine having a kid can't wait to get to school in the morning. Imagine if we could take the staffing of our schools and then somehow perhaps even shift it. So you have some folks come in early, then a period of time when all the staff is there taking care of the kids, and then you have some staff maybe stay later so that the kids could be at those schools longer. If I can create the environment where the kids and the staff are happy being at that school longer than they are happy being at that school now, then I will have done my job, and it's up to the teachers to continue to do their job. The teachers will do their job. I saw a statistic the other day. The average worker in America, puts in 43 hours a week on his or her job. The average school teacher in America, just the average school teacher in America, 53 hours a week. Not just in the classroom, but in preparation before, in doing homework, checking homework at night, after dinner. All the 53 hours. These people are dedicated people. Can you imagine where the world would be if we had dedication in every one of the professions that we have in this? So your folks are already dedicated, and they'll spend even more time at that school if it's more pleasant and it's a more productive space.
Sure. Does it cost more to create this pleasant, wonderful environment?
You're right. It's going to cost a bit more. And here's where we can save some money also. Here's where we can make some hard decisions in Memphis as a whole and say, okay, we've got 166 campuses, 156 of them are in use. Let's see if we can cut down some more. knock down or throw out or otherwise get rid of those that are not so good, those that are unsafe, those that could never be repaired, save money on those, and pump up the ones that we're going to have left. We may need to do some belt tightening, and in doing so, well, it's like the guy with a lot of cholesterol and he's overweight. If he tightens that belt and gets out and does some exercise, he'll be better off. Same-o for the school system. We do some belt tightening, we decide where the fat is, cut it out. The ultimate beneficiary is going to be society, Memphis society, because we're pumping 107,000 kids through there. I'd like to make it more. I'd like to adopt business techniques so that we consider these folks customers, so that we get even more than 107,000. If our education system is that much more effective, we got them.
Oh, sure. No doubt about it. What else is in the works? We talked about Keystone. You showed us the mall, and Keystone's a brand new school building. We talked about Gordon. It's under renovation. What else is in the works that's exciting?
We have opportunities to put together a partnership with the city of Memphis. We have opportunities to put together a wonderful partnership whereby we can not only have schools, we can have campuses. For instance, in the Booker T. Washington and Georgia Avenue Elementary area, we could meld those two campuses together through a civic plaza, and the focus for the Foot Homes region, the focus for that region would then be education, be that campus of Georgia Avenue Elementary and Booker Washington High School. Northside High School has no athletic fields. But immediately to the north, there's 64 acres of open floodplain. 2 weeks out of each year, that may be a little bit muddy. It may even be flooded for 2 weeks out of each year. That gives me 50 weeks of the year that Northside and that whole area up there could benefit from having that as athletic fields, community events in the summer, on and on and on. That's where the city and the school system in a partnership can do things. A couple other examples, Overton High School, which is where our creative and performing arts program, our optional school, is located in the city school system. Immediately adjacent is the Marion Hale Community Center. Overton High School's creative and performing arts programs are conducted in rooms that have been sort of renovated for it, but none of them are real successful. In the Marion Hale Community Center next door, they have a very robust program, daily, of arts and dance. We're going to be able to meld them together.
Sure.
Just marry them up. Marion Hale Community Center could then have, for instance, we could have classes in the arts that the high school students and the community people can be taking together. What an exchange of ideas you'd have then. We have hundreds of things we can come up with, which can improve not only the education that our youngsters are getting through the books and through the teachers, but also through the environment, the built environment that we can provide for them, and it'll also help the city out.
Sure. Well, we'd become community schools, and that's something that we really need, because we do want the community to see what happens in our schools, to understand what happens in our schools, and doing some of those things you just talked about would allow that to occur.
Oh, yeah. Not only would the community see what's happening, the community would feel a greater sense of ownership, and therefore the community would demand high standards. Hey, this is mine. This is where I go. This is in my neighborhood. I want this way. That's much better than a community saying, oh, yeah, there's a school over there. I don't have anything to do with it.
You're right.
Yeah?
You're right. The Board of Education, not too long ago, approved the appropriation of funds to buy some land in Cordova for a new school. Is that underway?
Yes. We have hired the architectural firm of Roy Harrover and Associates. Roy's firm did Mud Island.
Right.
I told him we don't think we need to have a half-mile-long model of the Mississippi River at the new Cordova school, but he's a marvelous designer, and so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what will come of his efforts here. I think the major issues that we're attacking Cordova School are going to be very similar to what we're doing with Keystone. Building a school where we're taking modern forms such as mall forms, and we'll be able to exploit those forms, providing the kids with a very interesting place to come to go to school, and pumping up the kids with excitement in the various classes that they can take. What I don't want to do is create institutions such as penal institutions. We have a long corridor and you have solid walls you can't see through, and you better go from this point to that point on the line. I want to provide kids and faculty members opportunities for exploration and discovery all the time. And if I can do it with the architecture, then I think I'm worth the paycheck. If I can't, it's time to find a new architect.
Do you enjoy your job?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
It's a great opportunity to play devil's advocate. It's a great opportunity to actually get involved in designing new ways and hopefully better ways of reaching out and grabbing the minds of youngsters and doing what you can for them before they finally graduate. And all the ammunition they're going to have as members of our society is what we pump in for 12 years for the most part. Some of them are going to go on to college, and that's wonderful. But the most important information that they're going to have is what they pick up in those early elementary years. The most important. Because in those early elementary years, not only do you have a foundation, but you have an attitude. An attitude. If you can pump up a kid with a positive attitude there, that attitude will carry him right on through, right on into life.
Sure. You have that unique opportunity to architects that build tall office buildings don't get the kind of reward that you will get from what you're doing.
Oh, I think so. And it's, yeah.
How long have you been on staff? A little over a year?
About a year and a half I've been with you all. Yes. So it's been a learning experience, but it's also been very there's a lot of growth that takes place for those of us who get the opportunity to do things like this.
Do you get frustrated by the staidness of educators? I mean, educators don't really have their arms open to change, oftentimes.
Do you know, I guess it must be the air that's in my office. But when I managed to get some of those educators in that office and ask them, what if? We talked before about putting in all those hours every week and their dedication. These folks are dedicated. And if you give an educator an opportunity to come out with an idea, they come out with ideas. They come out with ideas. Just a funny little thing. You go into your kid's classroom, and if the teacher has had the kids' work taped up on the wall, and the work is now down, there's a bunch of tape splotches on the wall. So the parent complains to the principal. My kid's classroom looks terrible. It's got all these paint splotches or tape splotches on the wall. Well, the teacher then gets the idea she shouldn't have the kids' work up on the wall. Well, the teachers come to me and they say, give us a way to put things on the wall so that we don't get hollered at by the principal, so we don't get hollered at by the parents. I'm 100% in favor of those teachers that want to put work up on the wall, because I want a kid to be able to form an opinion by looking at something that some other kid did, and then he knows why his is or is not as good as, and techniques to do it. Now what I do is I simply run a piece of wood around the wall, 1 inch by 2 inches. I run another one a little higher. As far as I'm concerned, the teachers can tape to it, tack to it, nail to it, screw to it. They can take railroad ties, spikes, and put them in there. I don't care. I simply want kids' things up on the walls, and so we're going to do it.
So easy. Thank you, Bill. I'm sorry we're out of time. Thank you
welcome.
for joining us on Topic Memphis City Schools. Have a very happy holiday, and join us in January. Hello, welcome to Topic Memphis City Schools. I'm Kathy Bennett. We're going to talk today about a new age in school design. Back in 1865, Memphis built its first public school, and it was a wooden structure on Adams Street and cost all of $12,000, including the land to build. Today we operate 158 schools, all of them different in architectural design. We no longer have wooden school structures, and we also no longer build outstanding architectural monuments like East High School. So we're going to talk today about what's new and what's coming up in the Memphis City Schools as far as new schools and school renovation. My guest is Bill Eissler, who is the architect for Memphis City Schools. Thank you, Bill, for being with me today.
A pleasure.
What does an architect for the Memphis City Schools do?
The reason the board desired to have an architect on the staff is to manage about $60 or $70 million worth of design and construction of new and renovation projects in our school system. The requirement to manage it, the requirement to think through on the design aspects of it, the requirement to sort of watch over the architects we hire who will finalize the designs, and then to watch over the construction process. It takes more than an individual who's already tied up with other matters. So the board thought they better get somebody on board that had experience in a number of these areas. And I was fortunate enough to come and work with you.
It's a pretty awesome responsibility.
Gosh, it weighs on me daily.
I bet it does. It's easier for an architect to deal with an architect than, say, somebody that's involved in plant maintenance and plant operations and cutting grass and fixing plumbing and that kind of thing?
I think it's a real good idea. Because architects have an opportunity then to talk to each other, to sort of get away from some of the issues that are later on going to perhaps slow us down. What about this plumbing thing here, and what about this electrical thing? And first of all, be able to talk about generalities, big ideas. Where should education be going? What should the form of schools be? And I think architects and educators, once they get into sort of a dreaming mode, what if? Why not? Let's try. Let's do this. They can get into that mode, come up with some schemes, take it to the board, see if the board will approve it, and if so, bang. Then we get down into, let's produce the drawings, let's get that plumbing right now, let's do the electrical right now. I think it's a real good idea having folks on board who can talk about designing. One of the most important things that we do at Memphis City Schools, however, is not just have me, the board architect, talk to the architect we've hired. We have a design team at Memphis City Schools, and these folks are principals, food service people, librarians, teachers, just people who are interested, and we get these folks together. Once these architects and I have been scheming and coming up with these wild-eyed ideas, we then lay them out on a table, and we call in these other folks, and they take a look at it, and they slash it apart. They say, no, that's a bad idea. Oh, this is a great idea. And then they come up with ideas. That design team is absolutely essential to success in our school design efforts. And I'm delighted whenever we get an opportunity to get together. They come up with ideas that we would never have thought of. Just a little idea. Let's put a sink and running water in every classroom, 1st through 4th grade. Kindergarten already has a source of water. 1st through 4th grade. Well, that's not a big idea. After all, we used to have sinks in classrooms. Well, then we stopped. Now we find that science and art and other things can be facilitated much better by just adding that one sink and that one little cold water tap. Just a little idea, but it makes a big difference when it comes to a teacher being able to illustrate a point to a classroom full of kids.
Was that a teacher idea, or did you all come up with that? I'm sure that primary teachers are thrilled with that.
That's a teacher idea. That teacher teaches at Georgia Avenue Elementary. Sherry Plunk. There's a number of wonderful educators down at Georgia Avenue Elementary. Sherry's one of them. And she said, I can't stand at that door to that classroom watching over, up to 20 of my kids and have two little wee ones go down the hall, around the corner, down the stairs, go around, get some water, bring it all the way back while she's watching the class and trying to watch to see where those kids go. Maybe you end up not holding art that day just because you couldn't get a particular thing, water. So we said, hey, we want to facilitate teaching. You want sinks? We'll try it. If it doesn't turn out, fine, we won't do any more schools with sinks. But that's just one thing. And we have 100 more ideas that are coming out of people like Sherry and like other administrators and like librarians. These ideas we're trying to out in the school. We're desperate to get new ideas into the schools to put out a youngster at the end of that 12 years who's going to be better able to participate in our society.
Sure. Is this a sort of a new idea in building schools? I mean, we've always put up the square brick structure with so many classrooms that are square and they have so many windows in them and that's it. And maybe they have lockers down the hall. Is this new?
I don't know if it's new, but I had not heard of it before, and I'm doing it.
Good.
So there we have it. And until somebody tells me don't ask for new ideas from anybody, we're going to keep doing it.
I'm not sure Memphis really understands the scope of construction in the school system, the renovations that are going on, the tearing down and building new schools, or the building new schools and then tearing down, and the building of brand new facilities. How many projects do we have going on now?
We have about 20 construction projects ongoing at this time. We have our first altogether brand new school being built in about 20 years. Right. And that's being built way up north in the Raleigh, Egypt area. We have a number of projects ongoing wherein we're having to tear down a significant part of the existing campus because it's old, because it's unsafe, because it would cost us an arm and a leg just to bring it up to present codes and standards. So we're saying, no, take it down, put something new in there. We have then, going down the scale of expense, we have a number of projects ongoing where we are simply renovating schools, making them safer. Fire safety, life safety, air conditioning the schools. Having mentioned air conditioning, one of the things we think we would like to do in the next couple of years is, if we can pull it together, just go in and do a quick fix on, let's say, about 55 of our campuses, where we simply go in and pop in air conditioners. Just put in the air conditioners. Don't take care of all the rest of the myriad of things that need to be done in all those schools. Just quickly get in there, air condition them, back out, and then go back into the regular cycle of renovation.
That was part of what City Council said they would like to see done.
Yes.
With the sales tax increase had it passed.
Had it passed, we could have zapped it all out in 3 years. Since it did not pass, it's going to take longer. But it's a good idea. It makes the people who work in the schools, the administrators and teachers, and it makes all our customers, all those kids that are in those schools, it makes them more comfortable. If it makes them more comfortable, they probably will pay attention longer. It's fairly logical stuff. So it'll take us longer to get their attention back, but we're going to do it.
All right, good. What else do you foresee in the future as far as school buildings and classrooms? And is there more than what we've talked about?
The future. Philip Johnson, a famous architect, said, you cannot not know history. You must know history. You cannot not know history. History of schools in America started with folks like Thomas Jefferson. He said in a number of the papers that he wrote and in the debates that they had, that schools should be a replication of our democratic society. At that time, this was all very new stuff, creating a democracy in America. And every one of these kids that was going to graduate from an American school was to graduate so that he could be a participant in a democracy. That's what we're educating our kids for. It's not how to go out and make a living. It's how to go out and make a life. So we go back there, and that's what the school started for in America. First industrialized nation to mandate public schooling for just that reason. because these people had to be able to govern themselves. Okay, so what should the form of a school be? Well, we didn't know at first, but Thomas Jefferson said, you better form your schools as if it's a little society, so that from the time they're this big until they're the time this big, they have practice in not only learning things, but also coming together and acting as if they were a bunch of folks in a democracy. Places where you can assemble, places where they can have little meetings and things. Jefferson said that. Since then, we sometimes get away from remembering that we're in a democracy, and the purpose of education is to make the citizens better able to govern themselves. My intention, while I'm in this job, is to try to turn the schools back into miniature societies where you learn, and you learn well. But you not only learn the 3 R's, you also learn how to deal with each other in small societies, so that when you pop out that end at the 12th grade, and then you're a member of society, you're able to govern yourself well and govern others well through your vote.
Do you think that sometimes economics and maybe even, I guess, practicality get in the way of that philosophy?
You're absolutely right, and it could be the bane of designers. but we have to dream, and we have to have that concept. We have to always remember what the purpose of public education in America is. And if we at least start from that principle, we'll go in the right direction. We can vary a bit as you try one thing and try another. But we'll go in the right direction. One of the things I'm doing now, let me give you 2 examples of schools in Memphis. One is an inner city school on a terribly small lot. This is like 3 acres. The state of Tennessee now requires 15 acres for a school that size. Okay. This is the Gordon Elementary School. On that site, we have a school. In fact, I think we have some illustrations here in the studio. On that site.
Do you want to look at those now?
Sure, yeah, if we could.
Look at that.
The Gordon Elementary School site is, as I say, it's much too small, but it's an existing site. There's an existing school. So what we're doing is we're tearing down 2/3 of what is there. We're tearing down an old building that was built in 1909. It's now no longer safe. It is now no longer able to provide the comfort that our folks need. And we're also tearing down a metal building that was built in 1971. And then we're going to replace it with a school that wraps itself into a donut, sort of, leaving an open area in the middle. Why do we want to do this? What we can do with that donut shape in the middle, and we have an enlarged illustration of that, we can take that interior, which does not have a roof on it. It's completely open to the sky, and we can make that the focal point of the school. This is where kids can gather. This is where kids can gather on an informal basis or in a formal classroom-type basis. We even have trees in there. Where we don't have trees, we have AstroTurf. So if kids run and fall down, they won't get hurt. It's going to be just like you see a Sunday afternoon a football game, you know. These kids can take a head dive and they won't get hurt. Or in some cases, we even have some sand in there because I'd like the little ones especially to be able to mix dissimilar materials and build things. Water and sand. Make sand castles. We have some very sad stories of youngsters in the city of Memphis. I know of one school, and I know this is true for a couple of others. This school is 10 blocks from the Mississippi River, and 50% of the kids in that school have not seen the river. What that tells me is I have an opportunity. Yeah, it tells me there's something very sad, but it also tells me I have an opportunity. It tells me I have an opportunity to take those youngsters who aren't getting out and aren't doing these very different things and start giving them some of these things to do. Start mixing sand and water. Make sand castles. See what it is that makes things stand up. See whether you can do this. See whether you can do that. We have other things also which are occurring inside that play area